I just had this insight come to me, which is that I think people pleaser type of egos are attracted to spirituality because spirituality is a way of living life without boundaries, literally. And I think that people pleasers struggle with boundaries literally. Literally, the boundaries of a healthy ego for a people pleaser were not cultivated. And so it's almost like they have a predisposition to spiritual work because spiritual work is all about dissolving boundaries. And so if you've never really been good at setting boundaries and having a healthy frame and ego, then you're just going to be attracted naturally to a worldview, a paradigm that fits that frame, that fits that natural disposition of not needing a boundary. But of course, the problem with that is that you never learn how to set healthy boundaries. And you never learn how to actually have a healthy ego, a healthy structure. You know, everyone's telling you in spirituality that, having any sort of structure or having any sort of identity is bad. But maybe it's actually healthy. And maybe it's actually core to the developmental process of the human. And maybe without that core structural identity that's a true identity to you, maybe without that, your spiritual work will be handicapped. And maybe spirituality isn't working for you because you never did that base work of creating a strong, healthy ego. The ego's not bad. The ego's not bad. Now, it's not a thing, but we're going to speak of it as if it's a thing. It's just easier to understand that way. The ego's not bad. Having a healthy identity with thoughts and opinions of your own, that is a good thing. Do you know how many people can't even think for themselves? They just do what everyone around them's doing. Even if it's spiritual stuff, they just, what does the group think? Okay, that's what they're thinking. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say what they're going to say. That's what most people are doing. So to have a healthy ego, to have a strong ego, in a sense, is necessary for survival in the relative human world. And not only that, I think it's necessary to really go deep with spiritual work. Because until you develop a healthy ego and a healthy relative life, how do you know your spiritual pursuit isn't a distraction from that work? You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. It's like people that are broke saying that money doesn't matter. It's like, well, you never made $1 million. So, would you even have the same thoughts if you were a millionaire? Maybe you're saying that money doesn't matter and maybe you're saying money isn't real because you never learned how to make money. So just something to think about, and just especially on this point of not having boundaries, because it resonates with me. So of course, everything I'm talking about resonates with me. It's coming from my experience, and I've been a people pleaser my whole life, and I'm starting to see like, oh shit, that's kind of what like led me to spirituality. Like, not led me to it, but like that's why it resonated. Because spirituality was all about like, acceptance and, seeing life as it is, and nothing in that requires you to be strong or confident in yourself, even if it is just a relative position. Even if it is just your thoughts and opinions. Maybe that's healthy. And maybe this whole spiritual pursuit of dissolving boundaries and, not having any thoughts of your own, maybe that's not a good thing for you right now, especially if you were a people pleaser your whole life. Now, if you've been, solid in yourself your whole life, you've set fucking boundaries, you say no, you know what I mean? You have a strong, good sense of self. it's almost like, okay, you got that down. Now you can go deeper and not have to worry about coming all the way back to take care of this shit, when it starts to handicap you later down the path. So just something to think about, but I feel like that was just revealed to me, like, holy shit, how much of us are even interested in spiritual work because it kind of plays into our disposition already of not really having boundaries, which is weird, again, because in spirituality, the dissolution of boundaries, seeing the unity of everything, that's sort of the aim. But for relative human mind, and for the health and the care, literally the mental health of an ego psychological structure, if it doesn't have a core identity, a core ego, a core sense of self, and I'm not talking about true self, non-dual consciousness, but a core sense of individual self, a core sense of personality and character. If you don't have that, I fear that dissolving more boundaries is only going to make life worse for you. And I feared that you actually need to go the other direction. Like you need to do less dissolving boundaries and you need to set more. You need to do less of finding no self, and you need to do more of creating your unique self. And you might say, oh, Vic, that's all ego. It's all ego. Yeah, it is ego. But where'd you get this idea that ego is like bad and having an identity is bad? Oh, well, you got it from contemporary modern spiritual thought that tells you, like, until you dissolve into a pool of goo and nothingness, you're not awake. And it's just, I'm being a shithead, but God, that's a profound thought. That's a profound thought. Like, that's a profound thought. So I don't know. I just wanted to share it with you. And I think that's worth really contemplating. How important is a healthy ego? I think it's really important. And I know for a fact that my own people pleaser nature played into me sort of like naturally resonating with sort of this dissolution of boundary stuff. Like it makes sense in that way. And I'm finding for myself, because I've been a people pleaser my whole life, I've held in so much anger. I didn't say what I actually thought when I thought it. Because I've done that for so long, I'm having to go back and pick up the pieces now. And look, I'm only 24. I'm still relatively young, so it's not like I'm going back, but it feels that way. It feels like I skipped something. And I think that's fucking important, to have a core, unique, individual ego identity. And I think the depth of your realization into non-dual consciousness changes nothing about this core, unique, individual identity. It doesn't wipe it out. You know what I mean? And you can still have a healthy, core, unique identity with boundaries and thoughts and perspectives and still know what you are behind that. Why do you need to get rid of that shit? You don't. Maybe in the beginning it's necessary to sort of like part the sea, so you can like see the truth. But like after that, like what are you hiding from? Maybe not. Maybe not. But I don't know. Man, that's a very deep thought, deep insight. And hopefully the mistakes I've made, which I'm sharing with you now, namely spiritual bypassing the healthy development of the psychological structure of the human mind, I think that's not a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea in the long term. Maybe in the immediate now, you get that boom awakening now, but it's like you don't know what's going to happen in 10 years, and you won't know until, let's see. Let's see what happens in 10 years. Let's see. And, usually time tells the tale. Time usually does tell the tale of if you were fooling yourself or if whatever, it was a legitimate whatever. And yeah, this stuff is tricky, and it can kind of blend where like maybe you kind of developed an ego, but then like that's more how it was for me. Like I wasn't weird in high school and insecure and like I couldn't talk to people. I mean, I was fine. I played football, I played sports, I had friends and did stuff. So it's not like it didn't develop, but it's almost like I just worry I got into this stuff too young, and it stunted the natural progression of the psychological development of a healthy ego. And I feel like I'm now having to do that. And maybe for you guys, it seems like I'm going backwards. Like, Vic, you're talking about non-dual consciousness. Now you're talking about setting boundaries. You're going backwards. And it's like, no, actually, I'm evolving because I'm realizing how important that shit is and how you can't just bypass it. You can't. And if you think you can, it's going to bite you in the ass. I can guarantee you that, because it has me. And so it might seem like, maybe if I'm more expressive, if I'm a little more aggressive in these videos, I'm showing a little bit more anger. It might seem like, man, what happened to Victor? But what's happening is I'm actually allowing myself to feel. I'm not playing some image. I'm not trying to fit into some frame of some, of some pre-made template of how I should be. I'm actually like going through my emotions. I'm feeling that shit. And it seems like it seems like a regression when it's actually a progression. Appearances are very deceiving. Your favorite content creator, maybe they had a period of time where they're like super positive, and then it seems like they get dark, and it's like, man, what happened to them? It's like nothing happened to them. What actually happened is that they probably stopped putting on a facade, and they probably started actually feeling their feelings, and they probably started saying no when they really meant it, and setting boundaries. And so it can appear, again, it can appear, and I don't know, maybe some of you have got this sense from me, it can appear like, man, he lost it. He lost the plot, but it's actually like, no, this is the plot, in a sense, is to be honest with yourself, really, and to just be true to yourself in that way, man, I think is so important. And just especially on this point with the healthy development of the psychological structure, which everyone is so keen on dissolving. Oh my God, let's dissolve this ego structure so we can get to know self. Hold on. Maybe it's important. Maybe evolution, designed the human being a certain way, and maybe you shouldn't just stick your hand in there and, fuck it all up. In the name of spirituality. Maybe that stuff's important. Maybe you should be very delicate and take care of it, almost like a succulent. You got to water it, and if you don't water it, and if you try to get rid of it, it's gonna like atrophy, and it's gonna get worse. And so, yeah. So that's the insight. Hope that was helpful. Peace.